Hello and welcome to a town called Bastard. This is him, Neill, and we're playing Crusader Kings II. As you can hear in the background, the music at this point is quite loud, so I'm going to try to skip through the main menu screen reasonably quickly before it deafens us, or more importantly drowns me out. In Crusader Kings II, the aim of the game is non-existent really. You set your own goals. But you play as a character, or a series of characters, in the Middle Ages. There's a variety of start dates, which I just skipped through, but as I said, this music is quite loud. You can range from 867 to 1337. We're going to start somewhere in the middle. I have selected High Middle Ages, 1066, and it shows you a variety of characters that you can play as. We're not actually going to play as any of them, or at this start date. We're actually going to play in about 1079. And there's quite a lot of freedom, as you can see here, in terms of choosing a date. You can go forward in decades, in years, in hundreds of years, in dates, in months. And the whole world keeps changing around. There's weather effects, winter effects occur. If I change the independent map mode, you can see all the independent realms of the world keep changing and changing, which is quite fascinating, and you can play around with this quite a lot really. But 1079. And the reason we're playing in 1079 is because I find the game a bit nicer at this start date. As you can see in the middle of the map, there's this state room, which has taken over most of modern-day Turkey, Anatolia. And I find that if you start an earlier start dates, the Byzantine Empire, for most of the games I've played, never really lose any ground. Whereas at this start date, the Sultanate of Rum has taken quite a bit of land. I also find that some bits are a bit nicer over in the west in France, so I find bits of France getting inherited by Germans a bit less. And we've already had William conquering England, which is also kind of nice in some ways. And the reason we're playing in 1079 in particular, in addition to just those generalities, is that I want to play as this person, Count Herbert of Vermandois. He is the last remaining member of the Karling Dynasty, who ruled large parts of France and Germany and northern Italy for a few hundred years really, founding the Holy Roman Empire in its modern form, as well as France and so on. And I find him quite an interesting start, because he is only a count, which means we'll get to see quite a broad range of the sort of the rise to power, but also because of his dynasty, he has a lot of dynastic prestige, which means you can sort of get away with some marriages and things like that you couldn't otherwise do. So this is the game, what it looks like most of the time. This is again on the Independent Realms map, so you can see the blue of France, the red of England, and the white of the Holy Roman Empire. If you look at videos of Crusader Kings from before some of the recent patches, the Holy Roman Empire was a dark grey colour, or a light grey colour, but I actually quite prefer it to this quite nice white. The county we're interested in particular is Vermandois, which I am sure I'm butchering the pronunciation of, which is the land that my character Herbert is the count of. Now, you can see a sort of nice pretty visualisation of the fief here itself, this nice sort of French castle. There's only really that there for the capital. If I go over to Liege, over here, you can see there's a nice representation of a bishopric and a cathedral, at least some form of church. In addition to just the pretty visualisation of the map, there's this holding panel which shows all the holdings within this county, and my capital is a barony, or a castle, the barony of Rethel, and there's also a bishopric and a city, And then there are these 2 free holding slots that I could build in later if I'm feeling particularly wealthy, but I probably won't be. In addition to that, it also gives a variety of other statistical information, so you can see how much garrison troops there are, how big my levies are, how much gold I'm making, whether I've been looted, the technology levels, the culture, the religion, and so on and so forth. I could explain it all in detail, but I think that would be reading a manual out for some time. It's quite an in-depth game, as you may be guessing already, but it actually flows quite nicely and smoothly together. There's the basics of the counties, and they combine to make these larger areas, the duchies, such as the Duchy of Valois, which Vermandois is part of. And if I show you the duchies map, you can see that everything is split into these duchies. A duke rules over counts, and in turn a king rules over the dukes, and then in turn an emperor rules over a king. Now, in reality, there weren't that many emperors during this period, and there generally won't be that many without player intervention. In the Christian realms in particular, there was only the Holy Roman Emperor, or the Kaiser, and the Byzantine Emperor, or the Basilius. If I zoom out quite a bit, go back to independent realms, you can see there's quite a lot of stuff out there these days. There's obviously the West here, and there's areas of Russia and the steppes, and then there's North Africa, Arabia, more steppes, and a very, very squashed up, peculiar India to the east. India was only added within the last year or so, as it wasn't there at game start. And in order to fit it in the map, they've had to squash the projections quite a bit. But there is quite a lot of land here, despite it being quite small in some respects. There's a lot of these individual provinces all over the place. As you can see as we skim across the map, there's different icons across here. So the Indian religions have these quite nice circular shields. The Muslims have their sort of variety of shaped shields. The Christians have their more sort of traditional Western shields. And if we find some pagans, they have also their sort of stone circles and other wooden circles as shields. There's a lot of variety in this game. There's historically accurate coats of arms for all of these provinces and kingdoms and so on, where they existed, and sort of made up ones for made up states as well that are potentially plausible. And the same goes for the characters. So this is just the map itself, but my character, as you can see here, he has beard and hair, and there's a variety of different appearances to all these people. You tend to find that people look similar to their lineage, so there'll be similar facial structure between me and my father, and potentially his father, and potentially his father, and so on and so forth. Because this is quite a large dynasty, I can keep going through this for quite some time. We're starting to get to Charlemagne here, and all the way back to the beginning of the dynasty, way back here. He died in 602. So there's a lot of history that goes behind this. Some of the dynasties in the game go back to the 2nd century or thereabouts, where we've got records of them. Some of them are probably a bit made up, but we'll do what we can. Our character in particular is Count Herbert, and there's a lot of information on this screen as well. At a glance, you can see who my liege is, who is the King of France. You can see who my heir is, my son, my wife. You can see my dynasty, my religion, my culture, and then a variety of other stats and my traits. I'll try not to go into it in too much depth, because it'll sort of come out as we play, but the top stats really concern us are our diplomacy, our martial, our stewardship, our intrigue, and our learning, which influence how much we get people to like us, how good we are at fighting and warfare, how good we are at actually ruling in terms of taxes and land we can rule, and how good we are at spying, and how good we are at sort of technological innovation, and how much the church likes us. and these traits we have at the bottom influence these. And there's a whole range of different traits. There's the 7 virtues and 7 vices, which puts them opposite to each other. And then there's other ones like cynical, which is opposed to being zealous. And then there's even other things like every character has an education. In this case I'm a dutiful cleric, which is not terribly handy. And these all work in, as I said, in opposition to each other. So with vices, the church will like me less. With virtues, they might like me more. And they also affect how much we like each other. So, as you can see, my opinion of my king is affected by his diplomacy, how long he's ruled, the free investiture, which is a law in the realm, and then autonomous vassals is another law. Technology is that there are certain technologies that affect how much we like each other. And then, as I was saying about the traits, I'm temperate and he's gluttonous, so we don't like each other for that. And then there are these other stats which affect specifically our realm. So our domain is the amount of land we can actually hold. Unlike in other big grand strategy games, you can't rule the world as some kind of godlike dictator. I can in fact only hold up to 3 counties. After that, I have to start giving land out to my vassals. I don't really have any vassals because I'm a lowly count, but the King of France has a great many vassals. He has 19 of them in fact. If I go to this direct vassals view, you can see them all in France. So the King of France only actually owns these 3 provinces here, and Dukes of Anjou, Aquitaine, Toulouse, Burgundy all own quite significant land beneath him. As I'm too low tier to have proper vassals myself, I don't have a vassal limit, which was introduced in a recent patch, but the King of France can have up to 31. After that you start getting penalties and people can become independent when you die. And then there's also how many troops you can gain, how much money you have, and how much you gain every month. Your prestige and your piety, which are affected by how much land you have, and then by traits and things, and also by actions you take. Prestige makes feudal people like you more, and piety makes priests like you more, quite simply. It also affects your score, which is that fig in the end here. That's not really something you need to be concerned about, but it's a nice bit of metagaming that you can, you can see how successful your dynasty is after many generations. You can see that these 3 icons at the top that I have things I can do. These are also reflected here. I can choose an ambition, I can choose a focus, which is only available if you have the Way of Life DLC, and also my heir is not married. So I should probably fix all these things. When I die, I will become my heir, and he will become his heir, and so on and so forth. So that you'll play through a long chain of people, all this sort of chain. If your heir is not landed, or if you become unlanded, or if your heir is not of your dynasty, you lose. So it's actually quite hard to lose this game, and I say that now, fully in the knowledge that I might lose. So as long as you keep your family going, you can recover even if you lose large parts of your empire, which is the point of this. The Karlings once ruled over all of this, and I want to, at the very least, become King of France and sort of gain some area of the world. So I'm going to try to marry my son off as the first thing. When I click arrange marriage, I get the most eligible women in the realm, and this is kind of selecting people it thinks I can marry. And it lists their stats, their name, their dynasty, and all interesting things. I'm actually going to ignore this, because this is what the game thinks I can do. I'm going to try to marry something to get me land, because I want to inherit land somehow, somewhere. So I'm going to look for some eligible ruler who has a daughter, on the hope that I might inherit from them. The Duke of Anjou has a daughter here, who's currently the heir, and if I'm lucky, could become my son's wife. I'm just going to have a look around. He doesn't have any children here. The Duke of Aquitaine, by far the most powerful landowner, has lots of children but also sons, so his daughters probably won't inherit much. And the Duke of Toulouse also has a daughter. However, he's younger and has a lustful wife. So I'm fairly certain they're going to be popping out some more children. So I'm going to go back to the trusty Duke of Anjou and try and marry his daughter to my son. Or betroth them, because she's a bit young to get married. Here's my son, and they'll say yes. Now, often a duke might say no to me, because I'm only a lowly count. But this bit here, prestige effects, is because I'm a Karling and my dynasty is prestigious. So he and his grandchildren will gain more prestige from marrying. And as you can see here, his house will gain my son 11 prestige for marrying into it, and then 100 because she's a relative of the duke. So this is why I quite like the Karling. Normally I couldn't do this, but because I'm a Karling, they'll let me get away with it. Now that I'm sorting out my son's affair, hopefully, I should sort out my own. Now, first I should choose an ambition. I can choose to become one of several councillors, which I'll get to in a moment. I can choose to amass some more money. I can choose to try to become pious. I can choose to become exalted. Or I could try to become King of France. Now, I don't think I'm going to become King of France in my lifetime, so I'm not going to do that. But I might try to become something interesting. I might try to... I'm going to try to become exalted amongst men. No particular reason for it, just like the sound of it. But as in terms of focus, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the lofty heights I want my children or grandchildren or great-grandchildren to reach, without playing a bit dirty. So there's 2 focuses for each of the 5 stats. There's stewardship ones, where you can be doing business or rulership. There's theology ones, where you can do scholarship or theology. There's diplomatic ones, where you can focus on your family, or just on carousing. There's martial ones, where you can focus on war or hunting. And there's intrigue ones, where you can focus on seduction or intrigue. Now, at the moment seduction's a bit broken, because you tend to find people sleeping with each other all over the world. But I'm going to go for intrigue, because I believe that I can assassinate my way to the top somehow. Especially because if the Duke of Anjou has any sons, I want to make sure to bump them off, just to make sure the daughter inherits. Because sons do tend to inherit before daughters. At the moment the game is still paused, as you can see up here, and the last thing I'm going to do, before I unpause it, is I'm going to have a brief look at my council. All of my councillors add half of their stats to mine. Fortunately I have quite a good spy master when it comes to that. I can give each of them tasks, 3 tasks each. I'm going to set my Chancellor the task of fabricating a claim. This means that there's a 14% chance every year that I'll have a claim on the county. In Christian realms, in order to take land from someone, I can't just do it because I want it. In order to declare war, I have to have what's called a casus belli. A just claim for something. And if I want to claim on their land, I'm going to have to fabricate it, because I don't really have any. But I also only want to fabricate a claim on someone weak, because if I try to fight someone stronger than me, there's not really a point. So I'm going to try to fabricate a claim on the county of Bourges, which kind of represents my chance of going out there, faking some papers, or trying to find some agreement whereby his grandfather agreed with my grandfather that we could aim his land one day, or something like that. I'm going to get my marshal to train some troops, because I'm going to need them if I want to declare war on someone. As you can see, the only county I can train troops in is my own, because I don't have very much land. My steward is my son, which is nice. I'm going to get him to collect some taxes. He has a 3% chance of being wounded. I'm hoping he doesn't get wounded. Might even try to find someone else to become a steward to reduce that risk. But as you can see, all my other stewards have a maximum of 9, whereas my son has a stewardship of 11, so they wouldn't be nearly as good as him. This only represents people within my court and my realm, which I have quite a few of them by the looks of it. I'm going to skip my spy master for now, and I'm going to get my court chaplain to improve religious relations. This means that he has a chance of making any bishop in Vermandois, specifically this bishop, Guy of Leon to like me more, or just like the Pope more. Because if a bishop likes me more than the Pope, he'll pay me, he'll give me his taxes. But if he likes the Pope more, he will give the Pope more taxes, which I don't really want. Now, the reason I left the Spymaster is because I happen to know that my wife is Countess Alix Adele of Vermandois. And she has claims on Vexin and Amiens. Amiens is this county here. And it's ruled by this guy, Count Enguard of Amiens. Now, my wife only has a weak claim, which means that it can only be used against children or female rulers, or people who are incapable. That's because if you're incapable or you're a child, you can have regency. So this claim cannot be pressed against the current count. But if something tragic should happen to him, something awful, his 6-year-old son would become count, and he would become a regency, and therefore I could take his land in theory. So I'm going to try to assassinate him. This is done with plots. This nice little screen here, which is created by the intrigue panel up here. There's a new button that's quite nice that auto-invites all potential people who might help me. But I'll show you what the screen looks like, and it looks a lot like the betrothal screen I showed you earlier. Most searching of characters are in screens that look a lot like this. As you can see, there's lots of people who have red thumbs down, which means they're not willing to join me. They have these pesky moral qualms, or they don't like the count, or anything like that. But there's only one person who is prepared to join me right now, Marguerite. So I'm going to invite her. I probably won't succeed, because I only have a plot power of 33%, which with her is only 47%, which isn't very much. But for the hell of it, I'm going to try to bribe Geoffrey. So he will currently say no, but if I give him a bit of gold, if I'm lucky, he'll say yes. So that will up the amount of my plot power by a little bit. But there's no one else who'll join me. What I can do, however, is send my Spymaster to build a spy network there, which increases the plot power by another 9%, which is 9% I desperately need. Now, when it says percent, that's a bit of a misnomer. It doesn't reach 100% and then works. It's based on the amount of time it's going to happen. So don't think of it as percent, just think of it as a power. On this screen as well, there's a variety of decisions I can make. I can invite holy men and nobles. If I had some claim against the duchy, which I reside in, I could ask for that. I could hold a feast, I can borrow money, I can do lots of things. But there's nothing I really want to do right now. The last thing I'm going to do is this is a laws screen. This shows who my heirs are, and the second and third in line. It shows my succession laws, and it shows the varieties of tax and levies. Each of my vassals, including the baronies which sit beneath me, these two, give me a certain amount of tax and levies. Feudal rulers, such as barons and counts, like to give me troops, but don't like to give me taxes. So even a small taxation, they don't like me very much. Cities are the other way around. They don't mind giving me tax so much. Or they give me more tax, better said, and they have more money to give me. Churches are somewhere in the middle. They give you a bit of tax and a bit of levy. I'm going to try to up my city's tax, because I'm going to need some money for more bribing if I'm going to continue my plots. Because there's no one else really whose opinion matters, I can just pass this law straight away. But I can't pass another one for another 5 years. The final thing I'm going to do, which is a tiny bit gamey, but I wish to try and show you some more exciting elements of this, and get to be King of France. Currently my succession law is what's called Galbakind. This means that my land is split evenly between my heirs. That means that your realm fragments, and it can be quite a fun way of playing, as it's certainly a lot more realistic. It can also be quite a difficult way of playing. It's very annoying at times, And because this is just a bit of a tutorial, I'm going to try and get out of this succession. In a later game, hopefully, should I do one, I'll try and do a bit more of a roleplay based one, and I'll just let Galvakind take its course, and it will be a bit of a nightmare. I'll show you some then. What I'm going to do in the meantime is change my succession to be elective, which means that I and each of my lower rank vassals can nominate a successor from either electors or from any of my children. And I'm going to do this, that if I have any more sons, my land is kept. I can now nominate a successor. Use. I wouldn't normally need to do this at this point, especially as I only have one son, and I only have one piece of land, but I intend to get more land and probably more sons, so I'm going to go this route for now. It may end up biting me in the arse. And that's it. I'm going to start the clock, which means that time will start moving forwards. It goes forward very slowly at this setting, and you can speed it up if you wish. But even before I need to speed it up, the King of France is asking me to vote on a law. This is the Crown Authority law. Now, as you probably saw, there is no Crown Authority law in my screen. I do not have that kind of power. The King, however, has these two other laws. Crown Authority, which means we're currently at autonomous vassals. This means we can declare war on each other, we can do basically whatever we want. And then there's Investiture, which determines who appoints bishops. You can only change one Crown Crown law a lifetime, and he's choosing to increase the Crown Authority. As a king, I can definitely understand why he wants that, because it means he gets more troops and can do more stuff. I don't really want that law to happen, because I don't have any vassals to exercise power over, and I am a vassal to be exercised over, so I'm going to ignore. There isn't really a say no option, it's only ignore. As you can see that he's starting to get a few votes there, he's got 10 himself. And before even anything else happens, I don't know why I need to speed it up at this rate, my spy master has discovered a rumour in Amiens, which is where I've sent him. Now, I can use it as I see fit, or let it be. I am slightly worried he might get assassinated if I use it, but what the hey, you only live once, so I'm going to tell him to use it. Looking around, you can see that suddenly little men have appeared. And this symbol in the bottom right has appeared. This is because the Kaiser of the Holy Roman Empire has declared a de jure war over Ghent. Now, Ghent is this province here, and it's within the Duchy of Flanders. And Flanders is de jure part of the Kingdom of Frisia, which is itself de jure part of the Holy Roman Empire. This concept of de jure means sort of by tradition or by law. This means that the title he holds lawfully should be in charge of this land. This is what I mean by having a reason to go for war. He can't just take Ghent for any reason, but he has the reason that he should be the overlord of it. So the Holy Roman Empire has now declared war on France, and our troops are now popping up. Before this continues too much further though, I've just realised that as I mentioned earlier, I've chosen the intrigue focus, and using that I can use to spy on this person, which might allow me to level treason charges and murder him. So I'm going to do that, because that sounds like a good jape. And I don't seem to have any good reason not to. I'm not a kind man, I'm not a gentleman. I'm at best temperate, which isn't a very noble characteristic. Just having that, as you can see, I'm snooping on him. So I'm just going to turn the speed up a tiny bit. Ooh. Apparently my spy master has blackmailed the Count, and I've gained some gold, which I can try to use to write more people in the end. My son has now got betrothed successfully, because the Duke has accepted. And as you can see, at the beginning of the game, quite a lot of things start to happen. Now it's stating that we've entered the period of Crusader Kings. What that basically means is the Pope can now call crusades, which are very large wars which anyone in Christendom can join. and they're only against heathens and pagans. This tends to happen at this start date, straight off the bat, and it's because various areas of the east, i.e. this area, have been taken by the Muslim hordes. At earlier start dates, this isn't enabled by default because the areas have yet to fall, and it's a system they introduced in the last patches to introduce a bit of dynamic bit, so you can't just get a crusade starting right at the beginning of the game. And along with crusades, the Knights of St. John, Holy Order, have formed. Holy Orders, like the Knights Templar, can be hired to fight against heretics and infidels. They're quite powerful sets of troops. So that when there is a crusade, you can hire them and get their assistance. Looks like France have passed this Crown Law, which is a pity, but it doesn't really affect me a great deal at the moment. All limited Crown Authority does is give him a bit more troops and allow the revocation of titles. Which would worry me, except there's no one who really wants my land. As I mentioned, a crusade for Jerusalem has been called. Jerusalem obviously being here. Now, I could send my troops marching all the way from Vermandois all the way to Jerusalem. However, that would mean marching all the way through the Holy Roman Empire who we're at war with. So my troops might die on the route. Plus, they'll probably die anyway, but it's a long journey. So I'm not going to help with this crusade. But already the King of Duhabat, which is a small Welsh kingdom over here, has joined. But I don't think he's going to do much good at this moment. Both Grand Masters of the Holy Orders have joined. Now I think they're going to fail. Historically, the First Crusade was only really won because the Middle East was in a bit of chaos at the time. And it doesn't look that chaotic to me. Ooh, and I've successfully managed to influence this bishop. If I go to my vassal screen, it will show that he does indeed like me more than he did before. However, he still likes the Pope more than me, so he's still giving the Pope his money. Look at that tax. All that tax going to the Pope. The Pope I can see on the religion screen. This shows me the Pope and how much he likes me. He doesn't like me very much because I'm lustful, proud and cynical. And not only is he the opposite of those things, chaste, humble and zealous, but being the church he dislikes them as well. I'm going to start a rumour apparently on Engward that he has an imaginary friend called Bappo. I'm not terribly sure this is useful, but I'm going to go with it because I don't like him very much because he owns land I want my wife to have. That's it. Ooh, and I'm now deceitful, so the church undoubtedly will like me even less now. Deceitful is signified by a snake, which is a nice little symbol. All these symbols are actually quite nice. There's a bit of fire, there's a cat. I don't know why they think cats are proud. There's a something for temperate, I think it's because of string. I'm not really sure what that is, and there's raised eyebrows and snake. So I'm sure the church will like me even less now. Yes, minus 27 as opposed to minus 16 before because I'm deceitful. Ooh, and another war has popped up. England has declared a war over Cumberland, and the King of France is the ally of the King of Scotland. Go to the screen here, we can see all allies of a person. And in this case, allies are done by marital relationships. And the King of Scotland is the King of France's sister's father-in-law. Or put a different way, they're related through marriage, as I said. The other type of relationships you get are through dynasties. So people of the same dynasty will be allied to each other as well. And I've been asked to marry someone. Ooh, now I can marry my daughter to the King of France. It's his son. However, that's not going to be very useful for me. And also spurns me into action. He will probably want to marry her for her prestige, or dynastic prestige. But I'm going to say no. I'm instead going to try to find some lord in France who I can marry to get an alliance. or some son of a lord, better say. Now this lists a whole host of eligible bachelors. However, I can only really call allies inside my own realm. So all these Scots and these Hungarians and Norwegians, not terribly useful. So let's try to marry. Now I could marry him to the son of the Duke of Aquitaine, but that won't really happen for 8 years. You can only get married at 16. I could really do an alliance sooner than that. So I'll try to marry her to the son and heir of the Duchy of Flanders. Because Flanders is quite a wealthy duchy. It's going to be a bit less wealthy in a moment when it loses Ghent, but hopefully it'll still be useful. I don't think France will be of much aid to Scotland in this war, given that the vast armies of the Holy Roman Empire are descending upon us. I'm slightly sceptical if the Holy Roman Empire could summon this many troops for an external war at this point in history, but regardless. As you can see, the troops all have their own shields. So the Holy Roman Empire's troops have these nice eagles, the double-headed eagles. These troops are the troops of the Duchy of Saxony, as can be seen by that kind of line with the green crosses on it. This count is a count of Burgundy, I believe. Burgundy? Yes, Upper Burgundy, which is that white eagle on red. King of France has the fleur-de-lis. The Duke of Champagne has the champagne symbol, and so on and so forth. It's quite a nice representation of it. Ooh, and the Prince of France is to marry a different Karling. This one he can marry, because she's 38 and probably won't give him much children. So I'm quite happy to accept that. Anything to mess up the completions. Foul or surplus. This is also an interesting place to start in Vermandois because it's a bit of a precarious position. Because occasionally I have to watch out for wars between France and the Holy Roman Empire before trying to fight my own, otherwise our troops are going to sit all over us. As you can see, even the symbols of the troops are different in addition to just the coats of arms. So this is a heavy cavalry here, suggesting the most powerful unit or troop type in there is heavy cavalry. That's heavy infantry. And then these Nordic peoples, Scandinavians, have different sort of troop icons. Ooh, I'm apparently leading some battle somewhere. I'm leading a battle in Ypres. I'm here, which means I could die. I'm leading a flank somewhere here. It's not so good. But I've become patient as a result. Patient is a fantastic trait. It's good. It gives you lots of stats, makes the church like you, and makes you better at defence in battle. However, I still think we're probably going to lose this war. As you can see, our morale is quite low. That green bar is going lower. Ooh, might break another flank if we're lucky. No, we're gone. If I was fighting in this battle, I could show you the actual troop compositions that is going on in the battle, but that's all we can see from an outsider's point of view. All battles like this, you will never really exercise direct control, and that's why the martial score is so important. You need good commanders to have a chance of winning battles, because you can directly influence where your troops move in the world, but not really what happens within each battle. The reason there are these little troops and big troops is because the big troops are wars we're properly involved in. The little troops are just the Count of Flanders troops for some reason, not really relevant to us. That's why they're a bit small. My brother wants to be married. Now he's ambitious, and he has a claim. So I don't know if I want to give her too much power. Well, to keep the dynasty going, I'm going to try to marry him to the Countess of Northampton. Probably won't come in handy, but you never know. Countess of Northampton is over here, somewhere. No, that's Northampton, sorry. That was quite a big geography fart on my part. I was confused because she is in fact of the Dynasty of Northumbria, which was a kingdom over here. So she's going to get married in 10 years, so when she's 16. France isn't doing too well at the moment, losing the war here. No troops left. 20,000 of the Kaiser's nice troops. Ooh. And our apparently I should give up on my friend Count Enguard. This doesn't really play well. But no, I would very much like him to die. So I'm going to keep going. Meantime, I'm just having a look around, and there's a lot of daughters around, annoyingly. But I'm sure there's going to be sons in the process, in the not too distant future. Let's see if he dies this time. But I'm going to marry my spy master off. He's doing a good job. I'm going to marry him soon. Oh, he's dead. This is the kind of thing that does tend to happen a bit. He's been murdered by Mayor Hildebert of Amiens, presumably he tried to blackmail him. And hire a new spy master, who's far less good. I'm going to make sure that all of my courtiers are married. There's not really a direct benefit to making sure your courtiers are married, but if they get married, they have children, fundamentally. And more children mean more courtiers, which means you have more chance of getting better courtiers. Shocking. Shocking. I don't know what he did to deserve that. I've got this icon on the top there saying that I've got in line with the sun. There's slight prestige loss having an unlimited sun, but I don't really have any land to give him anyway. So, tough. And the Holy Roman Empire, in its infinite wisdom, has decided that it needs to besiege Vermandois. I'm not sure why when Ghent is the target, but it's somewhat annoying. As if he destroys all my troops, it would be rather hard for me to fight any war if I ever end up killing Enguard. If only I could make this person like me. No, there's definitely no chance of something happening to Enguard. I'll focus it elsewhere. Let's see, who else? Try to pass dispersions on. I'm trying to do the line through, because it would mean my son would inherit it. So let's go for it. I can be more certain about inheritance if the Duke of Arnhem dies. Let's go for that. I don't have to change the person I'm spying on. Just the person I'm trying to kill just because of it. But I'm pretty sure with that plot rate, I'll never get it. But I'm probably never going to get it with this person either. At 28%. This is it can be quite a hard life playing as such a junior person in the realm. Go back to trying to kill him, as even the 36% of this is higher than the what I had before. Now, at some point I'll be able to spy on someone again, hopefully. There's a slight cooldown before I can spy on anyone new. It's worth pointing out that not only do I have all these ambitions and desires, but as you may have guessed from the fact that we're being invaded, everyone has these. So the King of France wants to become a paragon of virtue and is focusing on stewardship. And he has his own traits and his own activities which are determined by the AI. And that AI takes hints and cues from its traits. So an ambitious ruler is more likely to try and take land from his liege. And things like that. And a content ruler is far less likely to try and sort of start too much. And whenever I get those, and the same with the focusers, that they've got their own focus, they're trying to do their own things. And whenever I get those pop-ups, which give me a number of options, that the option that they choose is determined by their traits. So I'm going to give up with him now, and let's try and now spy on this stupid option. Nope, still can't do that. Ooh. My daughter is finally able to marry the heir to Flanders, so I'll do that. And and I can also marry this courtier off. So hopefully I will now be able to call Flanders, if he had any troops left, into the war with Amiens, if it ever starts. Shockingly, the Count doesn't like me because I slandered him, which is a terrible state of affairs. I don't know how that happened. It's worth pointing out that, just as I'm fabricating as well, as I said with the traits, lots of other people are trying to fabricate as well. Everyone has their own interests and their own activities. All of these characters, across all this entire kind of map here, all the way over to India, they're all trying to do their own things. And this crusade continues. And as you can see, they're now starting to join it a bit. I'm going to try and join the crusade just so I can see what's happening, because you share kind of fog of war with people who are in the same war with you. So now I'm going to spy on this dude, because I definitely can't do anything anymore. And when the Pope accepts my offer, we can see that the Christians are not doing too badly, these Christians here, against the Muslims. Having said that, they're now dying. And there's a lot more troops where they came from. So that's nice. There's yet more troops here. This is an example of a Holy Order, I believe. One of the Holy Orders should have. Ooh, there's potential here. There's potential. Each of these flags represents whichever ruler is troops is the top of the stack. So there's Venice, there's Duvat, the Seljuks, there's a lot of stuff going on. I can't really be of much help still. But as with the real Crusades, they're rather fragmented and they're just splitting off all over the place really, which will probably be their downfall. You can see a list of all the people who are involved here, along with how much they contribute to each crusade. So if right now the crusade was won, the King of Croatia would probably gain the land of Jerusalem. But we'll see what happens in the final verdict. To win wars, really, you have to own the land that you're going after. In the Holy Roman Empire's case, that's Ghent. And in the Crusade's case, that's the de jure Kingdom of Jerusalem, which is all this grey land here. And win battles. Every battle you fight gives you war score as well. And in fact, you have to have won a big battle as part of a war in order to actually win the war overall. It's not just Isfahan's allies though. The Sultan of the Seljuk Sultanate is also called in the Sultanate of Rum, and several lesser emirs and sheikhs. Some of these wars can go on for some time if it goes back and forth enough. This one may not go on for too long. It's already gone on for a year. And whilst we're here, we can see a revolt in progress. When a large faction tries to fight against its liege, it gains a temporary title of being a revolt, and they become the same tier as their liege and gain all the other people who sided with them as vassals temporarily. You see the Byzantine revolt here is splitting up the empire a bit, trying to take precious Constantinople. In addition to just the difference in flags and so on, with the portrait packs, there's different graphics for different cultures as well. So the Greeks look a bit more like this, with their nice specific crown in their own right, and then the sort of Italians look a bit more like this. And as you've probably already seen, the Eastern cultures have their own graphics, their own headgear and their own crowns. I believe this means we've lost all of our troops here, because I can't see anything. This crusade might not last much longer. It's a good job I didn't send my troops over, really. I'm just going to speed the game up a little bit, as there's not a lot that's happened. This actually happens quite a bit in the game. One goes through sort of peaks and troughs of activity, which is why one can fast forward. It gets a bit annoying sometimes with multiplayer games, because you have to speed up a lot of things. But your compatriots don't. England is definitely winning the Scottish War now. Ooh. I could imprison the Duke of Anjou. Yeah, let's do that. I don't know what could possibly go wrong. And I might execute him or keep him imprisoned to secure my inheritance. Or my son's inheritance. I'm going to wait till she's 16 first. To make sure that she doesn't decline the marriage. Now this isn't a very good thing for me to do. And as it says in this snippet here, if I execute him, I will lose a lot of piety and all the kings of France won't like me. But hey, that's just the price you pay, really, isn't it? Yeah, I'm just such a charming young man, really. Charming. Now I need to find someone else to spy on. I'm going to spy on the... What should I spy on? Now the Duke of Acton is a bit too dangerous. I'm going to spy on the Duke of Brittany, because eventually I'm going to want Brittany. I can't spy on him because he's not in my realm, so I'll pick someone else. Yeah, the Count of Bourges, why not? Because I want his land anyway. One of the sad things about this game is there isn't much you can do against someone who's doing this nasty intrigue stuff. So he probably knew I was spying on him for some time before I finally imprisoned him. But there's nothing he could do. And I'm now inventing more stuff. Count Etienne of Bourges dresses up as a woman. Well. And he doesn't know I did it. It's a hard life being a target of my ire. I'm hoping this war in... Oh! I can have him abducted as well. Isn't that nice? Ah, he escaped. What a pity. I don't know I did it though. And that's what matters. Unfortunately, I wish the Holy Roman Empire would win their war at last and finish besieging me. Or stop besieging me rather. As soon as they take this last holding in Ghent, they will hopefully win, and thus they will stop their siege. Because if they kill all my troops, it will be pain. You can see all the troops they've put as part of this. There's light infantry, pikemen, archers, heavy infantry, light cavalry, and heavy cavalry. And then there's also another type, if you can see there, called special troops. And that's for holding special units. These are things like horse archers and elephants, elephant riders. And there's also boats. I can't have any boats because I'm not next to the sea. But a nice place like Bruges does have boats. Within the holdings, there are these all these buildings one can build. They cost money and time, and they also require certain technology. That's a pain. It's foiled my plot, or at least made it harder. But I'm not too perturbed. I'm going to try to invite more people. He has to come out of hiding sometime. That's a bit too expensive. It's 80 gold for it. Not to do that. Technology is changed many packs ago. It's basically it's this cog symbol. It's influenced by various events and things by your learning, and dukes and higher can choose to put points they've unlocked, technology points they've unlocked, to increase the technology of their provinces, and then it spreads organically to nearby ones. It's cheaper to upgrade your technology if the nearby provinces already have that technology, or at least aren't too far behind, and it's really difficult when you're far ahead. As I'm not a duke, I can't really play this bit of the game. Ooh. Now, he's plotting treason against his liege. On the one hand, that's useful to know. However, there's not really anything I want to do with this information. I don't want to start a faction, because all it will allow me to do is change bits of laws I don't care about. It will inform his liege, but then his title might be taken, and I actually kind of want his title for myself. So I'm just going to give it to myself. As we are now at limited crown authority, the king could revoke his title, which would mean, if he was a player, he'd lose, and take the land for himself, which would mean I'd have to fight the King of France to try and get this province, which would be difficult. As predicted, the Catholic Crusade for Jerusalem is not going so well, at minus 33% war score, with the Sultan controlling all of Jerusalem. You can see the list of all these battles to the third. Bigger battles, more losses, involve high percentages. And this is how holy orders get killed. People occasionally ask to join them. And so he's now in the Knights Templar. Should a family member of yours become the Grand Master, you will gain piety as a result of you having a pious dynasty. I will try and capture this person again. We brought him back. Again, I'm not entirely sure what that gains me right now, but might gain me something. Worst case scenario, I can ransom him off for some of his gold. But yes, let's do that. I could always do with more gold. 70 gold. Excellent. Now I can still do that with the Duke of Orange, but I want him to die so that his daughter inherits, and therefore my grandson will inherit after him. There's no point spying on him anymore, so let's find someone else. I think I will go after the Duke of Champagne. I don't really have a particular reason for this, but why not? Precious gold. It's a good job I didn't try to become a paragon of virtue, because I'm sure I'll lose some piety at some point with my murderous, kidnapping ways. Yes, he's in hiding. It's much harder to kill. Any kind of character's effect changing thing happens there, so you get in hiding or incapable. And then anything about me or about my bloodline is there, so this means it's me. That crown means it's my heir. The bright blood drop means it's a close relative. And a dimmer blood drop is just someone of my dynasty. Now, this didn't go too well last time, so I'm just going to spread some rumours. With better Spamaster yet? No. Could get a equally good marshal, that's about it. So there's nothing particularly useful I can do. Ooh! Oh dear. God is dead. Being cynical in this game in some ways almost basically represents being an atheist. And the Holy Roman Empire has a revolt. In fact, it has two revolts. This is not unusual. The Italians did historically break away from the Holy Roman Empire over time. And Matilda of Tuscany, who was I think she was a margrave rather than a duchess, as is represented in this game. There's obviously a bit of abstraction. There are a whole series of titles, really, that existed, especially within the Holy Roman Empire, with princes and margraves and so forth. And it's basically represented only as counts and dukes, really. It's a necessary abstraction. Same in France. In France at this point, if I remember correctly, there was the Duke of Aquitaine and the Duke of Normandy, but everyone else was just a count. A powerful count, but a count nevertheless. So this wedding is now happening. I'm going to get some more gold, so I might need it. And I'm going to execute him. Bye-bye. this means that my son moves to his wife's court, but it means he will inherit, or his son will inherit the Duchy of Anjou. And that's how the game is played almost. I think this is a nice stopping point. I have managed to achieve a first goal. I have secured inheritance, assuming my son doesn't die and himself has sons. So I'm going to take a stop here. I hope you've all enjoyed this first session. Next time, I'll probably end up dying and end up as my son. And maybe by that point I'll even take Bourges or Amiens if I'm very lucky. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.